Welcome in to another Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. My name is Gabe Anderson, usually joined by Chris Emerson, but when duty calls, duty calls. And tonight we are talking about the Wolves' statement in Game 1, 117-95 over the Los Angeles Lakers. And where you got to start with this, Lakers came out pretty strong at the beginning, built a 8-point lead in the first quarter, and you're thinking, oh no, it's the Luka show. But then everything turned around in the second quarter for the Timberwolves, and they outscored the Lakers 38-20, then 35-30 in the third quarter, then 23-17 in the fourth quarter. How about holding the Los Angeles Lakers to 17 points in the fourth quarter? I mean, that's how you close out a game. That is how you close out a game. And definitely some standouts tonight, particularly the bench. The bench was fantastic tonight, and a lot of that. Reid, 23 points. Dante chipped in for 9. Nikhil for 7. And that's what you need out of the bench. Not only were they hitting shots, they were being very active, making it difficult for the Lakers to get into their offensive sets. And they basically took Austin Reaves out of this game. I know he had a good third quarter, and that's really the only reason that they stayed in this game in general, was because Austin Reaves had a pretty good third quarter. I think he had like 10 points in the third quarter. He woke up with that. But other than that, the Wolves were locked down tonight. And, you know, LeBron still got his 19 points, 8 of 18. Luka still got his 37 points. But the rest of the team did not come out to play. Like I mentioned, Austin Reaves had 16. Here's the rest of the output for the Los Angeles Lakers. Rui Hachimura had 9. Jackson Hayes had 1 point. Dorian Finney-Smith had 3. Vanderbilt 2. Gabe Vincent 3. And then Dalton Connect at the very end of the game, he did not factor into the rotations at all. He had 5 points. So a dominant performance by the Minnesota Timberwolves. And you got to talk about Jaden McDaniels, one of the best playoff performances from anyone we will ever see, particularly a guy who's not the number one scorer on a night-out basis. Jaden McDaniels, 11 for 13 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3, a plus 27, 25 points, and 9 rebounds. And he was just in control. Anthony Edwards was talking after the game. You know, if you want to put a smile on Anthony Edwards' face in a press conference, mention Jaden McDaniels, because he loves the kid. He absolutely loves the kid. They came up together, and he was talking about Jaden McDaniels. Basically said, be aggressive, be the MVP of the game, because we know we have it in you. And Reid was talking after the game as well, where he was saying, hey, we know it's in Jaden McDaniels. He just has to find it in himself. And tonight he was aggressive. Even shots he missed, one of the 2 shots he missed, he rebounded and put it back in for 2. So an amazing performance from Jaden McDaniels. And I got to say, if this is playoff Jaden, I know we talked about playoff Jimmy years ago, or we have talked about playoff Jimmy's a little bit. How about playoff Jaden? If we're getting this playoff Jaden, we are going to be a tough team to beat. And I think a lot of players did great tonight. And one thing I want to point out, it's maybe not the most sexy stats overall, but one thing I do want to point out is the amount of minutes played by Mike Conley tonight. 22 minutes. And contrast that with Dante DiVincenzo and Nikhil. So we look at this. We want to preserve Conley a little bit. We don't want to rely on him too much. We don't want him playing 30 to 35 minutes. He only plays 22. Dante plays 25 minutes tonight. Nas plays 31. Nikhil Alexander-Walker plays 20. And I like to see that. I don't want to overuse Mike Conley, particularly at his old age. We need him for the long run. And I don't even know if I hate starting Mike Conley, although we did get out to a slow start tonight. I don't think I hate it, because that's how much firepower we have off the bench coming with Dante DiVincenzo and Naz Reid. When the going gets tough or when in crunch time, I want to see DiVincenzo out there. I'm sorry. I know that Mike Conley is stability and he had a decent night tonight, 3 for 5 from the field, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals for Mike Conley tonight, a plus 13. But I think 22 to 25 is definitely the right range for a guy like Mike Conley. But then, of course, 2 words, Naz Reid, awesome tonight, and he was just totally in control. He even got hurt later on in this game, but came back full force. 8 for 12, 6 for 9 from 3. How about the Wolves? 21 threes tonight on 50% shooting. You want to beat the Lakers, and I heard Kendrick Perkins talking about this after the game on SportsCenter. He was saying that the Lakers, they pack the paint. They want to make sure that if they're getting beat, it's with the 3-pointer. And guess what? The Wolves shot fantastic tonight. The Lakers weren't bad either, to be honest with you. 15 for 41, 36%, but that still means they hit 15 threes, and a lot of that Luka Doncic and LeBron James. Luka hit 5. I guess LeBron only hit 1. I guess Rui hit 3. Like I said, not much contributions from the non-big 3 of the LA Lakers. And was that not the problem last year for the Phoenix Suns? Was they didn't get contributions from their non-big 3. Durant would get his, Booker would get his, Beal would get his here and there. But then who else was scoring for him? Grayson Allen? Not really. Nurkic? Not really. Bol? Not really. So a huge performance from the Minnesota Timberwolves. And it's almost a repeat of last year, going into a series where you thought a lot of the pundits were saying, not that we're going to get swept, but like you saw the graphic for ESPN, everyone picked the Lakers, the differing amount of games, but everyone picked the Lakers. Now, I'm not saying this means the Wolves are going to win the series. It's a long series to go. That's the beauty of the NBA is you got to prove it. You got to prove it 4 times. NFL, and I know it's a completely different beast. I know injuries and it's a much more contact sport. I totally get it. Don't get me wrong. But NFL, it's one and done. Let's say the Lakers just had a bad night tonight. They lose to the Wolves. And believe me, it was more than just a bad night. But if it was the NFL, they'd be done. They'd be done. NBA, we're playing again on Tuesday, and that's the beauty of it. I thought Julius Randle was good tonight. He was hitting the 3. He's been hitting the 3 well lately. 4 for 6, 6 for 11 from the field. Did have some bad offensive fouls, almost kind of cat-like. He did have 7 turnovers, which was 70% of the Wolves' total turnovers. But I thought he made the plays when he needed to. I thought he got over the jitters pretty well. Jared Vanderbilt did frustrate him a little bit and LeBron a little bit, but lower the turnovers. But other than that, I think a pretty good performance from Julius Randle, who has been garbage in the postseason. I think he's shooting somewhere for his career like 28% from 3 and 36% from the field. We'll take 6 for 11 and 4 for 6. And, of course, Anthony Edwards. I mean, what can you say? He's the face of this franchise for a reason. 8 for 22, which isn't great. 4 for 9 from threes, but he hit the big shots when it mattered. Like, for example, he goes out of the game when the Wolves are up big. Lakers get back, I think, within 12, maybe 16. And then what does Ant do? He comes right back, hits a tough turnaround jumper with 2 guys in his face and really turned the tide there. He also hit a huge 3 to get the lead back up to 16 midway through the fourth quarter to put it away there as well. So, I mean, Ant did Ant things tonight, and it was great to see. Rudy Gobert, kind of a nonchalant performance if you look at just the stats. Only 2 points, 6 rebounds, but I thought he did much better kind of patrolling the paint a little bit after the first quarter where, let's be honest, the Lakers were getting so many offensive rebounds, so many opportunities for second chance points, and that's how they were building their lead in the first quarter. But I thought that Rudy did well defending the paint tonight. He had a big block on LeBron, so only that 1 block, but a plus 14 for Rudy Gobert. You know he's going to bring it night in, night out. And it's possible that if we lose this game, we're pointing at Rudy like 2 points, 6 rebounds, but I thought he had much more of an impact for the Wolves tonight. But, man, just the 3-point shoot. I'll say this. If we shoot like that for the rest of the series, we're going to win. I'll say this. If we shoot like that for the rest of the playoffs, give us the Larry O'Brien right now. Because there's not many teams, if any teams, that could beat us in a 7-game series when we're shooting like that. And just when you think the Wolves are blowing it, just when you think the Wolves, they're within 12 in the fourth quarter, Ant comes back in, hits some shots, the Wolves had an answer. Every time they had an answer for the Los Angeles Lakers. And I hope this continues. I do hope this continues. Because if the Wolves can win games where LeBron gets his and Luka gets his, and they can slow down Reeves a little bit, I think we're in good shape. I really do think we're in good shape in the series. I'm not saying a sweep or anything. Don't get me wrong. If you listen to the podcast, I said that I had the Wolves in 7. I'm still sticking with that. If we win on Tuesday, then that could be a different story. Remember, the Wolves, for some reason in the playoffs, seem to play better at home. No, excuse me, on the road than they do at home. They tend to bring it. And the crazy thing is, I think I saw the stat, that is the 3rd straight series where we started a game 1 on the road where we won it. That's crazy to me, but that's awesome. I love to see it. Love to see it. But great job by Chris Finch. I feel like he called timeouts at the right time. Obviously, the technical was not ideal, and you think, oh boy, this is the catalyst for something. But the good news is it wasn't, because we were firing on all cylinders tonight. And keeping the turnovers down, only 10. Now, I know Julius had 7, but only 10 turnovers. We know the Lakers are not a team that are good on fast break. They're not a fast break team. Luka's a very slow, methodical player. LeBron's a very back down, methodical player. But we got out and caused some havoc with the Lakers, which I feel like the Lakers' MO, causing havoc at least, like they have the Jared Vanderbilt, who causes havoc all the time. That's his whole MO. I mean, you look at fast break points, 25-6. Now, when you outscore the other team by 5 or 6 3-pointers, and then you also out fast break them by 25-6, you're not going to lose most games. And we, like I said earlier, with Rudy Gobert controlling the paint, 44-32 on paint points, which is where Luka lives a lot of the time. That's where LeBron gets a lot of his points. So, I mean, great job by the Timberwolves tonight, controlling the paint, getting out, and taking control of turnovers. And like I said, if we get this Jaden McDaniels night in, night out, we are going to be a tough team to beat. And I'm just so excited going forward because, like I said, this is almost a carbon copy of what happened last year. Obviously, we didn't start on the road against the Phoenix Suns, but it's just a great start, particularly when it started so bad. When the Lakers get out to a 20-12 lead and you're thinking, oh, this is just going to be Luka magic all night. And yes, there was some Luka magic, his banked in 3 at the end of the quarter. And that's when you start thinking, oh no, they're going to come back. They're going to make this comeback. But to the Wolves' credit, they pedaled to the metal. Only 17 points for the Lakers in the fourth quarter. And that's how you put away games. I remember earlier this year, the Wolves had a game against the San Antonio Spurs. Now, obviously, it's the San Antonio Spurs. It's not the Los Angeles Lakers, so a little different. They did have Wemby, though, where the Wolves held the Spurs for the first 9 minutes of the quarter to, I think, like 7 points and put that game away. So that's what you love to see. You love to see not fiddling around. For example, we all know we may have even had a home game tonight if we held on to that Bucks loss. We may have even had a home game tonight if we held on to that Bucks game where we gave up a 24-point lead. Was not to be seen tonight. we were not going to blow that lead. And you even saw it. The Lakers, when they were creeping closer, JJ Redick must have seen game tape from the Bucks game and other games similar. And he said, let's go into a zone. Let's go into a zone. What happened? We zone busted. We got a shot right at the rim, a little floater, and we didn't see the zone after that. We got through, we passed that test early on. And we have a comment here from Billy. Says the Wolves looked incredible tonight. They can truly make noise if they play like this all series. Billy, I totally agree with you. If the Wolves just play hard, honestly, that's what I want to see. And I know they will. If they just play hard, the shots are going to come. The defense is going to be there. And, they may play hard one night and they're not hitting shots. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But like I said, if Jaden can play the way that he played tonight, we can get contributions out of Nas. DiVincenzo was good. DiVincenzo was all over the place, making plays for the Wolves, not necessarily hitting a lot of threes. He hit, I think, one or two, but he was getting to the basket, making stuff happen, causing havoc. And it wasn't necessarily the playoff DiVincenzo that we saw last year for the New York Knicks, where he was kind of the focal point of the offense. But if he can find his role where he can still be aggressive, still make stuff happen here in the playoffs, barring an injury, knock on wood, but barring an injury, which we had some scares tonight, DiVincenzo is the perfect piece for this team. And I'm just so happy that the Wolves made a statement tonight, held the Lakers to 39% shooting, 36% from threes, caused 13 turnovers, and out fast break them 25-6. That is the recipe for success for this team. And sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. Anthony Edwards is real. He's for real. And I know this isn't groundbreaking stuff. I know we've been saying it for years, but I think there's a lot of guys on this team that go to the next level when the playoffs hit. And you just love to see it. Of course, next game for the Timberwolves is on Tuesday, a late one here in LA, which isn't ideal for my sleep schedule. That's why I knew I had to get this post-game podcast down in the can after this one, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do one at 11:30 at night on a work night. I just don't know if I can do it. But we'll continue to have reaction. We'll have Chris on the show. We're going to have some special guests, I'm hoping, and we're just going to keep moving forward here. But super encouraged tonight by the Timberwolves. A blowout victory. Did not see this coming. 117-95 over the Los Angeles Lakers. The team that stole our team. This was, I know who Billy is, and I know he's a big Wild fan. This would be like going into Dallas game one if the Wild were playing Dallas and beating them by like 5 goals. That's exactly the feeling that it would be. But instead, it's a little less separated here, or a little more separated, as the Lakers left us in the 50s, but still, it's still the same MO kind of feeling, where we go into the team that started here. George Mikan, the statue, still in Target Center. They have so much success. I think I saw a stat where LeBron has played in like 200 plus playoff games. The Timberwolves, as a franchise, have played in 80 or 80 something. I forgot what the official stat is, but that just means it means more, right? Like, just think of how bad this team was in the mid 2000s. Like 2000, basically 2005 to like 2016, just garbage. We had one year where we were close to 500. It was the Kevin Love led team, and we didn't even get to 500. I remember that season. But look at where we are now. Thank God we drafted Anthony Edwards and took a chance on Nas Reid and got Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the Mike Conley trade and took a chance on Rudy Gobert. I mean, just some good moves to get us here. And maybe I'm getting too sentimental. Maybe I'm looking too deep into one win, which I could be. But can you blame me when this team has been so bad? When this team has been so bad for most of my youth, basically most of my youth and then in my college years, this team was garbage. And I still went there. I still went to Target Center every single night, or not every single night, but when I could. In fact, I would pack the car. We went to St. Cloud State. We would get a bunch of guys in the car, get in the van, I should say, drive down to Target Center on like a Tuesday night to see like the 16 and 45 Wolves play the Oklahoma City Thunder. And we would get those student tickets, and we were loud. And just to see the team having success now and new ownership and a new lease on life is awesome. Now, like I said, I could be overreacting over one win, but this is nice. This is nice. I mean, this is nice. And by the way, happy WrestleMania. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 tonight. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. Anyway, this is the Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and or Apple. And as always, go Wolves, beat LA.